844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. For you people curious, and I've got a lot of calls and contacts, I was originally scheduled, and I'm not going to go into all the detail, folks. I'm going to just tell you right now. I was originally scheduled for a heart cath a week from yesterday. Totally healthy, everything's fine. But I did have a problem, and it's a family deal that I can't do anything about it except take the medicine and keep on living and keep on pushing. So it was a tough go there for me, I promise you. But I've overcome it, and at least for the time being. And we got a family history of heart disease in the family, and I had a blockage. The good news is, by the grace of God, it was a God bypass, literally a God bypass that came out of the doctor's mouth. And so as I get my strength back and rock and roll, I keep doing everything I've always done. So anyway, that's why I missed a couple of days. I thank Mark and Mark Pope for filling in. Brandon, of course, was here. But anyway, without going into a lot of detail, I could tell you a lot of detail, give you a lot of detail. I just realized once again that God has every breath and that I'm going to ever take in his hands. And I'm ready to roll, ready to rock, and keep doing everything I've always done. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. A lot of friends have been in touch with me and people I knew I was real close to. Not that I'm not close to my audience, because I am, and I love you guys and ladies and appreciate everything. But anyway, it was just a situation, and I had to deal with it a little earlier than I thought I would. But it's amazing, without going in once again all the detail, my dad, my mom, their parents, I got a brother. We got a history of some stuff with dealing with your heart. And exact same age as my dad, exact everything. And the same thing with the God bypass. Everything that happened to my dad, I just experienced. And my dad lived to be 82, 83 years old. Now, he did end up having dementia and stuff at the end of his life, but never had a heart problem after they figured out what the situation was. I never even had a clue. I'm still clueless about what even went on the last 2 days. But actually, Monday and Tuesday, I was back. Actually, I did a little work yesterday. I was actually traveling around doing some stuff. Mm-hmm. And but guys, I'm not going to go into all the detail. I can tell you right now, I'm ready, pumped, ready to roll, and I think it'll be like that for a long, long time.
I'm just glad you don't have to wait anymore, because originally you were supposed to wait until like next week.
Yeah, and that probably caused some of the problems that I may have had, because I'm thinking, man, what is the deal here?
Yeah.
So, you have some kind of blockage, and you go, man, what is it? Man, you don't know nothing about this, Brandon. Mm-hmm. You realize I ain't took 20 Tylenol in my life.
Yeah.
I work out, I lift, I walk. My weight's way down now. I lost 12, 13 pounds in the last month. Mm-hmm. So anyway, and I'm really doing great. I do have to go on some medication, but it does not affect my job, my show. Does not affect and most importantly, it's not going to affect any of my fishing trips.
Are they back on now?
Hey, back on, brother. Down the road. I'm ready to roll.
I think you were about as sad as that as anything. I ain't going to be able to fish till mid-April.
Actually, I didn't think about fishing.
Yeah.
I thought more about my family than I did fishing.
I know.
But now that I'm okay, Brandon.
Yeah.
But, it's just a funny thing. How life, and everybody I'm talking to knows this, you can be headed in a direction and life can stop you in your tracks. You can think you're headed somewhere and life can stop you in the tracks. I am one of the fortunate ones. Very, very fortunate.
Yeah.
Today to be sitting here going, let's rock and roll. Mm-hmm. And I you just don't take stuff for granted as much anymore. And you realize God has every breath that I'm ever going to take the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. You too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everybody listen to the program too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I could easily been gone a while back.
Mm-hmm.
So, not like I said, I know people, well, what the heck happened? Just, I had a clog, and it was not in the best place to have a clog. And it was 100%. Mm-hmm. I'll just leave it with this. It's called the Widowmaker. And it was 100% clog, and it's been like that a while. And, but God bypassed it. And I'm saying God because out of the words of my doctor, God did your bypass for you with your own vessels. And my arteries and vessels, exact words, you could drive a truck through. He said I was one of the healthiest people for my age that he's seen. So, I got to change a few things.
Yeah.
Mostly eating, but that really didn't cause this. Really, when you think about it, Brandon, didn't cause it. Hereditary. Genetics play a lot.
And we joke about all the good food that comes in here, but you turn down more than you actually eat.
And I always have since I've been here.
As a matter of fact, you look at me like, Brandon, go get you one of those. It's like you're
I
trying to live through me when we're eating.
Brandon's younger. You can handle it.
Yeah. Now, Brandon, you really want that donut over there. And I really eat it. And I'm like, no, I'm good, man. Come on, Brandon, you really do. I'm like,
it's always in fun. But, you get woke up a little bit. Life does that, and that's a good thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. Makes you rethink what you're doing and everything, And but I will tell you, and Brandon, you're going to be shocked about this. And I do want to give a little shout-out to Lafayette General.
I bet, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Uh-huh.
Let me tell you something. Every nurse, every doctor, the people that push you with the wheelchair, the people that roll your bed to the room, the operating room, whatever, first class.
Did you get to talk some basketball with my brother?
When I was getting ready, and Brett saw your brother.
Yeah.
Saw him in the emergency room. Actually.
Uh-huh.
And what was amazing was I told Tanya that I've been to hospital now very little in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody professional.
Yeah.
Everybody with a positive atmosphere. Everybody with a positive attitude. I'd never seen anything like that, to be honest with you. I was humble. Had some pretty nurses. Now, the part I was trying to get to with all that, Brandon, I want to thank Lafayette General because, and the doctor and the doctors and all that stuff, they were phenomenal. And I told my wife, I said, I hadn't been treated that good, even on a cruise or someplace you fly and you all go to all exclusive. I mean, they were first class and they were good at what they did. Mm-hmm. Now, if somebody told me, you're not expecting to sleep at night, are you? I said, no, because they're taking blood and they're doing all that stuff. Yeah. But Lafayette General Hospital, A++ in my book, at what they did. Now, this is the part that you're not going to be surprised. Out of all that process of being in the hospital for 24, 36 hours, whatever, you think I laughed and cut up?
I'm pretty sure you did.
The whole dang time.
Yeah.
Laughed, cut up, had fun, met friends. Of course, people would know you from the voice and the program. Mm-hmm. Not so much the young nurses, but some of the men and stuff that you had to work with. I laughed and cut up with them people, made them laugh. They laughed at my dumb, you know what? Brandon, you can say, well, you were just doing that because you was nervous. If you know me, I do that anyway.
Yeah.
Whether I'm nervous or not nervous. Was I nervous? Exactly, but I'm not nervous on this radio program. Mm-hmm. And I believe I cut up a little bit, don't I? Yeah. So anyway.
You cut up and nut up.
I know, cut up and nut up. I agree with that. I agree 100%. But anyway, to all my friends out there, you wonder why I was gone. I gave you enough to kind of put it together without me going into detail. But I do want to thank Lafayette General, my doctor. I actually had Dr. Mickey. He was gone, but he did everything leading to that. Dr. Palto was a doctor I had. And I want to really thank Tommy Vaucher, who's the guy I went to. And when he put me through that, this is how I'm going to end it. He put me through all of the tests. And except for one thing, I had really cholesterol, prostate, everything was great. But he said, Moon, would you do me a favor? I said, what? He said, would you go do a heart x-ray, which basically is a calcium heart test, Brandon. And that's where they found some plaque. That test cost me $50. And I'm telling y'all, if you're my age, you're getting older, you feeling some deals, and you hadn't doing and I hadn't had folks, I ain't been a doctor in 10 years except for a urologist. Okay, and that's been clean as a whistle. But first time in 10 years I ever walked in the doctor. I just pushed all that away because I've always been healthy. Mm-hmm. And I am healthy. But that heart cath, I recommend that, not heart cath, the heart calcium heart test. I'm telling y'all, if you're sitting out there wondering, $50 at the Lafayette. I know Lafayette General. It's over there by the Lafayette General. $50, the best $50 I ever spent in my life, Brandon. And I'm glad for Tommy Vaucher. He's the one that said, would you do it? And when I did it, it came back, and my widowmaker had some problems. And that's what started it all. And I visited with him last night, and he said, people need to go have that done. It's no money to go get that done to see where you stand. And once again, I told you, best $50 I ever.
Do they recommend that at any age or when you get?
Well, I know people that had them at early ages. Brandon, you start getting 40, 50 years old, they recommend a lot of things. that would be something for your doctor to ask.
Yeah.
I just know this, that I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad the timing was what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I would recommend, if you could ever do that, do that. Okay, that's where I was. Guess where I'm at now? Running my mouth and getting ready to have some fun as usual. Your calls are welcome on anything I already talked about. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. I'm ready to roll. We'll be right back. Hi, hello. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to be with you. I can promise you. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. The only bad thing is my son is getting operated on today at 12 o'clock with his shoulder. So, we've had it pretty good here the last few days. But we're still hanging. All right. Announced yesterday, probably Tuesday, and headlines at Lafayette Lands Helicopter Company, 120 jobs. Greg Hilburn. I want to pre-warn you, when Hilburn does something like that, he once announced that we had automobile manufacturing plant coming to Monroe under Governor Blanco, and it never came. We hit him so hard, he finally had to come back after Bobby Jindal was governor and say that, no, it's not coming. He was one of the guys that wrote about V-Vehicle in Monroe. It never came. He wrote about Next Car, or the Next, whatever it was. Never came. He wrote about the chicken plucking plants that was supposed to come to Rayville. They never came. What worries me, I hope, and I know Greg Gotre's a good guy, and I bet Greg's excited about it, and people are excited. We got a plant that may be coming from Switzerland. And I'm always leery when it's announced during an election year. Remember now, it's 2021 when they're supposed to build, but they were going to build, Elio Motors was supposed to have vehicles up and running in 2015. How's that Elio Motors plant working out? See, I'm a little different. I'm not pessimistic. I just don't have a lot of faith in government liars, and governor liars especially, this one. General would know better. Blanco did the same. They announced this stuff that never comes. You remember the Union Tank was going to have 800 jobs in Alexandria? How's those 800 jobs working out? You see, folks, I believe in hope. God gave us hope. False hope to help a politician frustrates me. Let me go back. And listen, I hope, let me be not the first to say, I hope and pray this company comes. I hope and pray we get the jobs. It's, 55,000, a Switzerland company. Helicopter company. But I did a little calling around yesterday. I did work yesterday. I didn't work on the show, but I did work, and I worked a lot, really. Worked from the phone, worked from the internet. So I placed a couple phone calls to people that are in the helicopter business. They're looking into the company because people in the helicopter business, follow me on this, never heard of the company. Kopter. Never heard of it. Never heard of it ever. And I know there's a helicopter company that is shedding jobs left and right. And I know the Bell Helicopter Company, whatever the name of it, never did what they told us it would do. And I noticed the thing on this thing is the first helicopter is supposed to come out in 2021. What are we supposed to have Elio Motor vehicles when? 2015? 2016? We're supposed to have next V-Vehicle in 2013, 2014? Never came. Let me just go back and share with you, because I don't want to be fooled again. First of all, I'm the one that came up with this idea. We should not be able to announce a job by any government official till the jobs are sitting their rear ends in the seat or working at a plant or wherever. That way, when they say, well, we got 40 jobs, we can say, here's the 40 people working there, not the 400 that's coming in 10 years. And that's the problem with it. 2021. So if you want to work in a helicopter company, if you sit on your rear end for 2 years and wait, you could get a job in 2021. Now, before you get mad at me, so there we go, eat that. No, I'm being honest with you. Every one of these other jobs I called and said they wouldn't come. Remember the big $2 billion project in St. James that never came? It's election year. I understand the media wants Bell Edwards elected. I understand Bell Edwards killing this economy wants to be reelected. I understand all that. But I just like to look at history. And C.B. Ferguson was the greatest teacher of history. He said, watch history, you can tell what's going to happen. Well, I did. The chicken plucking plants that were coming never came. V-Vehicle never came. Elio Motors never came. Next Auto never came. The company that was supposed to come under Governor Blanco when she was leaving never came. Greg Hillman had to write an apologetic letter to the people saying, well, it never happened. It's not going to happen. I'm just trying to explain to you the Hummer, the big Hummer 3 that was going to be rolling out in Shreveport. It's not there. Union Tank, 800 new jobs, never got that high. Never. No chicken plucking plants. So let me give you another. You remember Bell Edwards announced it was the biggest economic win ever in the history of Louisiana, and those technology jobs that come into New Orleans. You know what the date they're supposed to be there to 2,000 jobs? 2025. You know how many jobs are there now? About 100. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that one job will come. What is the guarantee? And we gave them a building. We gave them some state incentives. For what? How many of you people will guarantee me your life that those jobs are coming? State incentive package includes $1.2 million grant for facility modification and $1.3 million grant for lease support, Brandon. We're paying them to come here. I'm not sure they'll come. I'm not saying this one's not, but I don't think it looks that good. And this is what's going on because it's a political year. You know, people like Greg Gotro and them, I mean, those guys do a great job, and they're out there, and they're busting their butts, and they want it to happen, and it's their job. I'm just not convinced, as I've gone through with you before, company after company with these governor candidates and governors bragging about these companies, that it never happens. The biggest one he's bragging about is one that's got about 100 jobs in it. Another one he bragged about was Medicaid, 19,000 new jobs because of Medicaid. You know, folks, that's ludicrous. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, is to brag about jobs coming from the federal government that have to come from their money from the federal government and then saying that you created jobs. I'm watching the press. Greg Hillman's a joke. I've been telling you about him. I laugh at him. And these people in the Advocate and all this stuff, they write all this stuff up. It's all about trying to get their guy reelected, who cannot win if we go vote. If the Trump people go vote, he cannot win. If you want a self-fulfilling prophecy, listen to Republicans talk. I hope you're right. I hope we can win. I don't know the candidates. All that doom and gloom attitude. No wonder we get beat. No wonder Bell Edwards is the governor. You know, it shouldn't be like that. But you got them out there, and I'm trying to pick everybody up saying this is going to go really well if you'll be patient. Doug in Alexandria, before we take the break. Doug, how you doing?
Hey, Moon. I was noticing something about the announcement on the helicopters.
Yeah.
I read Brandon's article, very well written article, by the way. But anyway, he's quoting this Lowenstein guy and, of course, Governor Edwards. Now, you know, it wasn't very long ago, and it happens over and over again, there was a report that Louisiana has a horrible business climate, the worst in the country.
By the way, we're the worst opportunity, and we're the worst for businesses to do well here. That's a fact.
That's right. But now, in this announcement, this Lowenstein guy, who was with Edwards in Atlanta, said that they chose Lafayette and Louisiana because of the rapidly growing and attractive region, easy access to qualified workforce, high-quality education environment. And then Edwards finished up by saying Louisiana's outstanding workforce and facility access and our competitive business climate. Now, all of that is just the opposite of the reports we've been hearing.
Well, but that's the spin. That's the spin he's got to put on for the election. The business community knows this. People in the real world know it. Bell Edwards, that honor code crap we heard last time, that's out the window. There's no honor code with this guy. This guy doesn't care what he says. He wants to be reelected. I don't know if these helicopter jobs come here or not. I'm telling you, I gave you a history at the early part of the program. Most of the time, this stuff never works out, not even close.
Well, this Lowenstein guy, I wonder if Ed was pulling the wool over his eyes. He hadn't checked it out. How can Lowenstein be talking about a rapidly growing, attractive region?
Because let me tell you something. Let me ask you a question. If I gave you a $25 million building, I gave you $3 million of money, wouldn't you say what I wanted you to say? Wouldn't you say, that dang Moon, what a man. That man knows what he's doing. What an economic creator. For $3 million in a $25 million building? Wouldn't you say that? Would you have any problem telling people that? No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, it's a very highly suspicious stuff.
Well, all I'm telling you is I talked to two people in the helicopter business, and they never even heard of the company. I'm always a little leery of that. I hope for Lafayette and the people that, quote, would get them jobs, I hope it comes. All you got to do is sit around for 2 years and see if it comes or not. I know this, the history of governors coming forward with big news normally doesn't happen. Ask Doug, you live over there. How's them 800 jobs doing at Union Tank?
Well, they promised a lot more than we actually ended up getting because I guess the economy took a downturn. But anyway, it actually came at least.
Oh, it came, but it wasn't no 800 jobs.
You know, I'll say one reason why some of your buddies might not have heard of the company is because their first flight was in October of 2014, so they seem to be relatively new.
And I always worry about startups, Brandon, because they're the ones looking for the freebies. Remember Elio Motors? Okay. V-Vehicle had to pass taxes, get state money, local money, government money, federal money to do it. It was easy to read. I don't know about this company yet. I hope they're a great company. I hope they come. Anyway, let's take a break. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. Hi, hello. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. If you'd like to be part of the program, your opportunity to be a voice. Glad to be back in studio with you. I can promise you and hope I'm here a long, long time. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. All right, Kyle Ardoin joins us. He's our Secretary of State. And by the way, before I get to Kyle, I do want to make this point. We did not give away a king cake on Monday, Brandon. I had a lot on my mind. I'm going to give it away today. I had one more to give away, so if you want to send it for that, be the last one we give away. I know it's after the fact, but they'll ship it to you. So anyway, if you want to be part of the Cane River Pecan King Cake giveaway, all you got to do is holler at us. All right. Kyle Ardoin joins us, Secretary of State. How you doing, Mr. Secretary?
I'm well, and yourself, Moon?
I'm well now, so that's a good thing. Anyway, all right, Kyle. H.R. 1 being pushed by Washington Democrats right now in Congress. Tell us what's going on with this.
Oh, man, you wouldn't believe it, or probably you would. I mean, they're basically trying to take over the election systems all around the country. They want to require mandatory they call it automatic voter registration. I'll call it mandatory voter registration.
That's ridiculous.
In all state and federal agencies. They want to require election day registration and voting. They want to force states to have a minimum of 15 days of early voting. You know, in Louisiana, we have 7. They want to require more paper ballots, which, of course, could lead to more ballot harvesting, which we saw in the last midterm elections. And, of course, they want to limit our ability to maintain our voter registration rolls, thus putting in jeopardy the integrity of our elections.
Yeah, let's start with this. I got a lot of questions. I mean, you said a lot of bad things, but this is Democrats. They want to run the country. That's what they're doing, a dang good job of it. But let's back up. I want you to explain to people, we don't have national elections. We have state elections. We do not have there may be a national election, quote, day, but we don't have national elections. They're trying to do exactly what you said. They're trying to nationalize it.
That's exactly correct. They're trying to violate the Constitution. The Constitution allows the states to provide for their own elections. The only thing that they can do is determine the date of which federal officials are elected. That's all they can do at this point in time. So they're trying to supersede the Constitution, which we all know is illegal.
It is illegal, but you got to have people willing to fight against this. This is stupidity. This is like running your country overnight.
That's right, and I've signed on to a letter with at least I think it was 15 other secretaries of state opposing it and detailing our opposition that we sent out on Tuesday.
My question is this going to be a blue state, red state thing where the red states, quote, that's our state, is considered, this is crazy, but the blue states who they want to dominate everything anyway, they're going to like this. Do you see that at all? Do you see some of the blue states, and I don't know who you've talked to, do you see them against this as well?
No, I've not seen any blue states against us at all. I've only seen red states that are trying to maintain the integrity of the Constitution for their state.
Man, look, it's hard enough, and I know you're going to be blunt with me, it's hard enough to make sure we get this right anyway. Could you imagine the federal government, they're going to do to the elections what they've done for Social Security and Medicare and VAs. That's what they're going to do. They're going to end up running it all.
As you well know, none of us trust, hey, I'm the federal government here to help. Whoa. We don't need help. In Louisiana, we've got 88% of all people eligible are already registered in our state. I don't know what automatic or / mandatory voter registration is going to do other than to clog up the rolls and make it. They're going to make it more difficult for us to be able to clean up our rolls, to be able to make sure that people aren't registered in multiple states. I mean, they want exact matches before we can even talk to a voter. It's just they also want to mandate phone voter registration. How do you register people over the phone? We can't validate anything over the phone. That's why we have online registration in Louisiana.
But no, let me ask you a question. Don't you think this is all a big part to one day not only nationalizing, but also say, okay, we're going to do it on an iPhone now. That way, every vote is counted. That's kind of the mentality when you kind of sick in the cuckoo. You just really believe that some kind of way the federal government, I mean, it worked real good in Germany, didn't it, in Russia and China. The federal government controls every part of your life, including voting.
They're using terms such as, giving every person the right to vote, making sure they have the right to register, making sure they have the opportunity to register. The reality is this is blue versus red, an attempt to monopolize election processes leading up to Election Day and how votes are counted. It's simply a political ploy. It plays to the far left. It doesn't take into effect honest elections. And I just think it's the wrong way to go.
Let me ask you a question.
Kyle
Ardoin, Secretary of State. Kyle, let me ask you a question. How does a House resolution, this is House Resolution 1, how does that override the Constitution? I don't explain it to me because I can't see how any of this overrides the Constitution.
I don't think it can. Of course, they're trying to tie money to it, of course, which would have to go through the appropriations process. But what they're trying to do is say this is the agenda we endorse. If it passes the Senate, then which I don't think it will, but if it by chance does, of course, I think the president can veto it. But then if it's overridden, then it's just going to be a court battle, and this is just court battles to come. Claiming that red states are trying to stymie people's ability to vote versus blue states opening it up to everyone. And quite frankly, we just want to make sure that we're having honest elections, that people who are legitimate citizens have the right to register and participate in the election process, whereas other states and the Democrats are looking to create opportunities for illegals to register and participate in the election process, as they do in sanctuary cities in California.
Let me ask you a question. One of the most bizarre things of this and everything I've been watching is to sit here and tell people that they suppress votes. I don't ever see that. If somebody registers to vote, Kyle, and they have their precinct and they have their number, there's not nobody can stop them from voting. Nobody. And I bet you, I can't believe you even get a complaint on somebody not being able to vote.
I don't recall getting a complaint about somebody not being able to vote. If they weren't able to vote, then they weren't registered.
Yeah.
If they thought they were registered, then something happened in the submission of their paperwork, and they didn't pay attention to their mail, because the registrar does everything they can to get that person registered. They just need the proper paperwork.
But what I'm saying is we hear that, just by listening to you and what they're saying, everybody should vote. Nobody should be left out. Well, that's their own fault if they get left out. If I'm a registered voter, I'm going to vote. Nobody's going to stop me from going to vote. That is a ludicrous. Maybe you can go back in the 40s and 50s or 60s, but in 21st century, that's just not happening.
No, I agree. And, if it is happening, then somebody needs to bring it to my attention and give me very specific information and the individual or individuals that were denied that. Because when we have 88% of the people eligible to vote registered in Louisiana, then they're just choosing not to participate.
Yeah, and by the way, they choose a lot not to participate. You watch it every time.
Right, I do.
I mean, just
Absolutely.
when numbers are down because people aren't voting, it's not your fault. It's the fault of the people that are not going. Kyle Ardoin, Secretary of State. Hey, Kyle, let me take a break. We'll come back and talk a little bit more about it. You're listening to the Griffon Show, 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. We'll be right back. Hi, hello. Welcome back. Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. Kyle Ardoin, Secretary of State, on with us. House Resolution 1 by Democrats. They're trying to nationalize the elections and take over everything. And Kyle, I think you made all great points. Every state, all 50 states, should be livid about this. But they're not. And that blows my mind. But a House resolution just doesn't oversee the Constitution. They never have. They never will. It's a resolution.
Right. Well, let me just say this. The other thing that this H.R. 1 does is it provides for taxpayer-funded campaigns. And it's a massive, small dollar donations. So if you donate $50, they're going to match it with federal tax funds 3 times that amount.
Well, who's paying for that? The taxpayers?
The taxpayers would have to pay for it. The Democrats think that campaigns ought to be run with taxpayer dollars, evidently. I just...
Ask you a question.
It's mind-boggling. This is a 622-page bill. Can you imagine what's buried in there? We keep going over it and finding new stuff.
Oh, I bet you. I'm glad you're on it. I'm glad your staff is on it. I wish every state was taking the time to look at it like you are. And I'm sure you're in touch with other states. Y'all probably looking at this, laughing at this. But this is where we've come in our country, Kyle. Everything that used to be wholesome and good, we're beating up. And anything that can make it worse, this is what the left is pushing. It blows my mind.
It is very frustrating. Again, the Constitution should reign supreme, and yet they're throwing these issues out as if we're against registering people to vote in red states. We're against making sure that our rolls are clean in red states, and how dare we ask for voter ID, by the way, which Louisiana has done since 1998, and it was passed in 1997, and it was approved by Bill Clinton's Justice Department that it was okay to have voter ID.
Yep, there you go. You're making my point again that, or you're remaking your point that it's all political. It's big time all political, and it's nothing to do with honest and fair elections. You got to have rules in election process. Registering somebody to vote automatically, to me, is ludicrous. That don't mean they want to vote. That don't mean they want to vote at all. And yet, and it's a way to cheat the system. You know what's sad, too, Kyle, is that if we don't have honest elections, this country is doomed if we don't have honest elections.
It's the fabric of our nation's government. If we don't have confidence in our elections processes and procedures, then we turn into a third world country overnight. It's havoc, because there would be no regard for law. And this is the breakdown of our election system, where it should be non-political, but it's turning into all politics, and that's the unfortunate part.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing about it, though, Kyle, is that this is being pushed by the left, and this is so crazy and so far-fetched. I can't believe they could ever pass something like this.
I fully expect it to pass the House of Representatives. I would hope that the Senate doesn't do the same.
Oh, I agree 100% with you.
We shall find out.
That's phenomenal, man. That is phenomenal.
And
I'm glad y'all on top of this, Kyle, because if y'all wasn't on top of this, we would have big problems. And the thing about it is, and I tell people all the time, there's no such thing as national elections. We don't have national elections. You know that as well as I do. We do have a national election day. You've already talked about that. Right. But we don't have national elections. And I wish everybody could realize that. It's just this. It's never supposed to be that way.
Right. And my staff just sent me a note saying that for small donations under $50, the match would be 6-1.
Oh my God. Oh my God. 6-1?
You think we have a national debt problem now?
Oh my God, man! I mean, where are they? And once again, like everything with Cortez and all those people, everything's for free. You can run for election now. You put up $1, they're gonna give you $6.
Right.
Oh my God. Well, Kyle, okay, here's the big question for you. What can the average citizen do about this? Is there anything we can do? Do we call our House members, our Senate members? What do we need to do?
I think they call all the above, and I think they also ought to call other members of Congress from around the country. I think that every American ought to be registering their absolute unbelief that this is even before the U.S. House of Representatives. They need to understand that people are up in arms about all of this, and that this is just taking away states' rights and it's violating the Constitution. Yeah. Stick with what they're supposed to stick with. I mean, they're just mad because Trump's president, so they're looking for any way to change it. But the fact of the matter is, we need to continue to allow the states to determine how their elections are done according to the Constitution.
Oh, you're right on the money. This is so unconstitutional. It's not funny, but I've seen things like health care get through and become constitutional. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's what bothers me.
I remember a quote on that. Didn't the current speaker say, well, we had to pass it to know what was in it?
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi, correct.
Yeah.
But this is not a bill, it looks like to me, you better pass it to know what's in it.
You better know it was in it before you pass it.
Yeah, that's totally opposite of what they believe. It's just crazy. There's no such thing as a national election. They want to get rid of Electoral College, which was God sent. They don't even understand what they're doing. I think a lot of these people get caught up in the hype of what these elected officials are saying, even if they're lying. They just don't care at this point.
Well, nothing is as good or as bad as it seems, but certainly when you start looking at the actual details of this H.R. 1, it is just unbelievable, and everybody needs to wake up. We've got to stay vigilant on making sure that we're able to keep our voter registration rules clean, and make certain that only citizens are registering and voting, and to make certain that your vote counts like everybody else's. No one's vote is more important than the other, and that's the rules by which we have to play. And I'm afraid that what this does is it just completely throws everything out the window in favor of the most liberal translations possible.
See, here's when we're going to run into a problem. They usually run stuff like this, but if you ever return to a leftist president, a leftist House, and a leftist Senate, I think this is all a pre-do what they really want to get done. The problem with it is this, and I think you agree with me on this, H.R. 1 is about as un-American, unconstitutional as there is in any bill or any resolution that's ever come along.
I agree with you. And I think that you're exactly right. If the executive branch and the entire legislative branch falls into one single liberal party, then this is just the beginning.
Oh, no, it would be stuff our country won't be recognizable. And, boy, ain't that not pitiful. I mean, it's really sad. But, hey, Kyle, thanks for being on top. Real quick, I heard anything? I'm just guessing you're running for re-election?
I am absolutely running for re-election, man. Thanks for asking. And I look forward to being out there and visiting with the voters. As I understand it, my runoff opponent is saying she's running again, so we're out there working hard.
Yeah, I figured that. I know there's not been any gigantic announcement, but I wanted to know, and like I said, hear straight from the horse's mouth that make sure that you were running, and We appreciate the job you're doing. Stuff like this is important. I don't think if the woman that's running against you was in there, she wouldn't be against it. She would support it.
No, I think she would have to support it because the Democratic Party would demand it of her.
You know what? If I ever get to see Bell Edwards, I'm going to ask him if he agrees with this because nobody asked him anything, but I'd be glad to ask him.
Well, I look forward to hearing the answer.
Yeah, me and you both. But you're not going to get an answer because he's never going to get the question. All righty, Kyle Ardoin, Secretary of State. Kyle, H.R. 1 coming from the federal government. We need to be careful.
That's it. Thank you, man.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has that hotline. If you'd like to be part of the program, it's always opportunity to be part of the program as we rock and roll. Covering in Baton Rouge too some now, so we are pumped up. All right, let's jump gears. One of my favorite people. I love bragging about Louisiana business. You people know that. I love when businesses do well. They bust their fannies every day. And David Stein joins me. Of course, Stein has been we've been friends of the program for a while now. And David, we're humbled. But hey, this is the weekend to make all weekends. Y'all do this more than once, but this is the tax-free weekend coming up Saturday, Sunday only. And I said, let's get you on here because y'all outdo yourselves every year, I believe.
Well, thank you, Moon, and thanks for having me on. I appreciate this, and good morning. And good morning to all your listeners there. Yeah, we're excited. We come on the call generally with our tax-free events to promote them because they are such big events. This is the one that excites me the most because we call this our spring no-tax kickoff, and it's a kickoff. We all have cabin fever from the wintertime and the cold, wet weather, and then just in time for spring, we have this big event. And we're going to have a little wet weather this weekend, but I think we can dance around it. We've got drive-through lumber yards that'll help you out there, load you up and all. But what's exciting about our spring event is it kicks off our outdoor power equipment. And there's no one out there with better brands than what we've got in outdoor power equipment at better prices. We have steel power equipment, and we're the largest dealer in the state with steel power equipment. We have all that on our in stock. In fact, you can go to our website, steinhome.com, and you can see an outdoor power equipment catalog we put together that's 20 pages. We've got an outdoor patio furniture collection and barbecue collection we put together, and so you can view that. Plus, you can go online and shop any of these items. But come in this Saturday and Sunday. It'll all be tax free. In the outdoor power equipment, we've got Stihl, Husqvarna, Craftsman, Toro, Poulan Pro, Generac. I mean, we've got it all. A great selection. We've challenged our buyers to come up with better product lines and an extended product category, and they've done that. So encourage you to come out. So we've got power equipment. You've got if you're doing any landscaping in your yard, colored mulch is a big item. We've got that 4 for $10 this weekend. We've got flowers. They're already blooming out there. So if you're doing anything in your yard this spring, this is the place to be this weekend.
You know, it's amazing, though. We really had such mild weather already,
yes.
And people could be taking advantage of it. But this weekend, David, and we've talked about this before, you people that are buying the big-ticket items, you've been wanting to spend a little bit of money, you've been wanting to do something around the house, at the camp, you want to build something, the drive-through lumber yard is going to have tax-free, too. I want people to understand that you can drive through to load them up, pay for it, and roll out of there. So if you're buying big-ticket items, you're talking about patio furniture, $400, $600, $800. I mean, we're talking about barbecue pits from $200 to whatever. So it's big-ticket items. So this is the time to really save some money when you want to spend that kind of money.
That's correct, and we guarantee the lowest price in the marketplace. If you shop Lowe's, Depot, anybody else, we guarantee the lowest price, plus we pay your taxes. So you got treated lumber, yellow wood back there, and all the big lumber yards. So if you're doing a deck or anything like that, good time to start. Appliances, I've got all the major appliances, got them on sale, and then, of course, the tax-free feature. So you're right. The drive-through lumber yard's a big feature. We've worked hard to put those into nearly all of our stores. In fact, we've got covers on all of our stores. So just got a great lineup. Extends on to barbecue. We've really put a lot into the barbecue this year. and that in that category is crawfish burners and pots. So that that's been taken off because again we're right there in that season with Lent upon us, selling a lot of that product. So we've got that. Like you said, any big ticket purchase, this is the weekend to do it because it's all tax free.
Yeah, one of the things I did, David, it was last year or the year before. I wanted y'all got the Steel brand gasoline powered weed trimmers.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was, because of the sale, and this is what I tell people, you got a lot of sales in the sales. Yeah, they're getting the 10% or whatever it is on no sales tax, but a lot of times you got sales on these items. I was able to buy a weed eater, which most people that buy the one I bought, they do commercial stuff. But I bought the lowest commercial, and what I mean by that is the most inexpensive one, which was really a good buy. And I bought it. I'm able to use that around my house, but I bought it on sale. I bought it on one of these deals, and that's what I thought was really neat.
Bought that for your wife, right?
Yeah, it sure did. And by the way, it's worked out real well. She sends me out there every week to use it. By the way, she didn't appreciate, but I got her back, David. I bought her 2 brand new fishing reel and rods that really look good. It was top of the line, and since she don't fish, David, I may as well use them. That's how we get back on each other.
There you go.
But look, the sales unbelievable. Lawnmowers, power blowers, everything's there. Steinhome.com, and they can find
everything in the store.
Yeah, everything's in the store. But I'm gonna tell you, it's March 9th and 10th. That's Saturday and Sunday, and they can get one heck of a deal.
Very good. Thank you, Moon. We appreciate you. We appreciate you promoting our products and a good Louisiana brand.
We love Louisiana companies and Louisiana people, and y'all are all that. Your daddy cranked this thing up. The brothers involved. I mean, this has been a really great thing for Louisiana. I love to see Louisiana companies prosper and do well, and we believe y'all been one of the ones that have been able to do really well. But I know you like to thank your customers, and y'all work your butts off to get there, and that's what I love to see happen.
We do, and you're right. Our customers have been so valuable to us over the many, many years, and we're blessed. So thank you all.
All right. Thank you, David Stein, steinhome.com. Folks, I'm telling you now, if you want a deal, Saturday, Sunday. Thank you, David.
Very good. Thanks, Moon.
All right.
Take
Well,
care.
God bless.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, brother. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. State Treasurer John Schroder is in the house. First of all, good to see you. It's been a while.
Nice to see you. It has been. What I'm really trying to do, working really hard right now, is to get this unclaimed property stuff out and really rebrand it, because a lot of people don't understand what unclaimed property is. It sounds like real estate or something like that. But, Moon, the state has a lot of cash that belongs to the citizens of Louisiana that if we don't give back, guess what happens to it? The government spends it.
Well, maybe you ought to call it unclaimed cash, because people know what cash means.
That's right. That's right. So,
I keep checking it, but it hadn't changed. I don't have any in there.
My wife actually got, she had moved around before I met her and stuff. She actually got a little bit of money back from the deal. I don't think you were there. I think you may have been there. I think when Kennedy was the treasurer at the time.
Yeah. Well, we get money in every year. It sort of replenishes every year, and I've gotten rid of some of the red tape. Brought in some new technology. I mean, we're gonna return $20 million more this year than we did last year.
Well, how much money's out there right now?
About $855 million that belong.
I believe that. That's just hanging around. People don't even pick
just
up.
In Acadiana region, is about $35 million.
It's phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
Now tell people how that builds up, John. Because, tell us where that comes from.
Yeah.
So how do y'all end up getting this money?
So there's a law, and every state in the nation has this program. So if the money is lost, and I'm going to use some different examples. For instance, if you were to leave the station today and they owed you money, and let's say that you moved to Connecticut and they lost your address, and the money comes back and they have no way to give it to you, by law, they have to turn that money over to the state of Louisiana.
Okay.
So it could be payroll, it could be life insurance, it could be a lot of royalties.
But can it also be stuff like you left a deposit at
deposits, utilities? Like a lot of college kids have deposits. Mom and dad pay a deposit. Kids don't know; they just leave, and and then they don't know what to do with it, so that it gets sent to the state. So it could even be gift certificates. You know, if you go buy your wife a gift certificate to, you know, Walgreens, and she never
by
cashes
the way, I'm going to be going there a lot, but go ahead.
if she never cashes that gift certificate, it still belongs to you. It gets turned over to the state of Louisiana. So the average dollar amount's about $900 per citizen. But we've had some.
But you're
recently.
talking about almost $1 billion, dude.
Almost $1 billion. Yep. And Moon, the real tragedy is, which I'm sort of hell bent on right now, is that whatever doesn't get returned to the citizens, and you know I've worked pretty hard on a budget and the finances of the state.
We're gonna get to all that in a little bit.
I never knew, did not know that. I thought there was some checking account this money was sitting in that doesn't get returned. Well, what happens is the law states that it will always belong to the holder or the owner per se.
But what about the interest?
Well, there is no interest because
they don't have it in one big deal.
No, it's not, because it's going into the general fund and they're spending it, and so they keep a ledger, and so government owes unclaimed property $852 million right now.
So let me get this straight: they spending it. But if somebody comes, let's say I come along and I found $1,000 today, the state has to come up with $1,000 and send it to me.
Well, luckily for the state, they haven't had to do that. But
you just said $20 million they're giving out a year, basically.
No, we're giving away $30 million a year.
$30 million a year, but you got almost $1 billion.
Yes.
State Treasurer John Schroder is my special guest today. Hey, John, real quick, because I hadn't heard anything. I'm taking you running for election.
Yes.
I had to throw that at you. I had Kyle Ardoin on, and he said, yeah, thanks for asking. So we're running for re-election.
Well, and Kyle's even shorter than I. You know, I've been in office for 13 months, and a lot of people don't realize that I'm just finishing the unexpired term of now U.S. Senator John Kennedy. So
this will be your first full time. Ardoin has been there like 13 days.
Yeah. Well, at least he's been in that office a long time.
But I guarantee you learned a lot in 13 months.
Well, I have, and I tell people I've spent a lot of time learning, and I still have things to learn. You don't learn it in 13 months. I've learned a lot. Having served in the legislature helped me a lot, but I spent most of my days, Moon, I went in every day, learning the staff, because I did something sort of unprecedented. I kept the entire staff.
Yeah,
I didn't bring anybody in off my campaign.
And Kennedy was ahead of you, so I'm sure John worked with you to make it a little bit easier. Right. I'm thinking he did.
Well, I trusted John, so I just figured if you were good enough to work for Kennedy, you're good enough to work for Schroder.
Good. All right, going back to this unclaimed property, which I would rather you make it unclaimed cash.
We
just call it the cash account. They'll understand it.
You're going to appreciate this story. So when we changed, when we upgraded some technology. We created some partnerships. We annually give back about $30 million. Already in the first 6 months when I was in office, we upped it by $20 million. So what happened was we matched our data with the Department of Revenue. We needed legislation to do it, passed, and governor signed the bill, and so we've been working closely with the Department of Revenue. And like I said, all this is lost addresses. So we sent 175,000 files over to the Department of Revenue, had 111,000 hits, 85,000 people. It was $20 million. Well, guess what? Wasn't in an account. Didn't have the money. So I called a little meeting. I said, guys, hey, Houston, we got a problem. So luckily, and I talked about this in a meeting yesterday, luckily October, November is the time all the money comes in. And this happened to be in September. So we just had to wait a little bit, and then all the money came in. We were able to send out $20 million. We sent in the last batch out.
Well, did the legislature have to appropriate the money?
No, it's not. It's not appropriations because the money doesn't go into the appropriations bill.
From? You said before we went to the break, you said the legislature spent it all.
Yeah. So what happens is whatever's not spent at the end of the fiscal year, it just rolls into the general fund. So it's part of the.
So the money rolled in just at the right time, is what you're saying.
Right, exactly. Or they would have had to find $20 million.
How does the legislature get to spend it? Explain that to me.
Because it's forecasted. They have a balance of $35 to $50 million a year, and whatever's left in that account gets swept into the state general fund. Now, what I'm going to propose is that we don't do that any longer. That we create a trust fund, put it in a savings account, but heavens forbid It's hard to find people in Baton Rouge who want to save anything.
Are you telling me, though, this is money they have to use for one-time spending, and they're spending – I'm asking now just to clarify. They're spending $855 million more a year than they really have. That's question.
No, I'm trying to follow the 855 is what it's the whole amount. It's between $30 to $50 million a year.
What are they spending on?
Just it goes to the general fund. So
wherever it goes, it goes.
Yeah, however they calculate that out.
I guess they're recognizing that as money every year, not one-time money.
That's correct. So what I want to do is create a trust fund, protect the principal. The law doesn't say we can't spend the dividend or the interest, but right now there is no interest because it goes and gets spent. So what I want to do is save it. It's a perfect opportunity to create a savings account and then use the dividend. And I'm proposing through legislation, the Speaker of the House is carrying the bill for us, that we create a revolving loan program for infrastructure projects across the state. Really helps the smaller communities who don't have the political clout to play all the politics that goes on with the capital outlay program.
Yeah. John Schroder, Treasurer of the great state of Louisiana, my special guest. Let's flip. I know you got to do a speech, but I'm still concerned about the legislature and the governor and spending. You know, he gives a budget. It was an unusual budget, and the fact that he's counting money that's not there. I talked to some of the people in the legislature, and it really wasn't a constitutional way to present the budget. Him and Ardoin came up with a way to present the budget, but it really wasn't a constitutional way to present the budget.
No,
I mean, they're going to spend the money. That's just the bottom line is they want to spend every penny they get. They've been really hard on Barra for not giving in on that money, but our economy is not what all these other economies are producing.
I think the taxpayers of Louisiana owe the Speaker of the House a pat on the back because he's holding the line. We need to hold the line, Moon. Look, you've known me for a while now, and this isn't a new topic for me. This is something I've been talking about and screaming about for 12 years now. We spend every dime we have, and in this situation, we're spending money that we think we're going to get. The reason we have deficits for all these years is because you remember now, Revenue Estimating Committee, they are estimating how much money they think is going to come into government. So what does government do?
They're off about $200 or $300 million a year.
Yeah, we've been off many, many times, and we've been off more times than not, especially since I've been around. So one of the things that I would propose, because I guess I get asked this a lot, okay, Mr. Treasurer, what would you do if you were governor? Well, I wouldn't spend every dime we got. I wouldn't spend every dime we think we're going to have.
By the way, they tried to do that. You may have still been there at the
time. I was.
And they said, no, we're not going to spend 97.5. We want to spend 100% plus because this new budget is 100% plus.
That's right. That's and I think that's unconstitutional.
I do too.
How do you pass a budget that's 100% plus what you think might come in?
Can I do that at home?
No, you can't. And in fact, I said this earlier this morning. This model doesn't work anyplace else. It doesn't work for a sheriff. It doesn't work for a clerk of court. It doesn't work for a nonprofit. And it certainly doesn't work for private business.
It don't work for a married couple either.
But it works for state government. We need people in government who understand how to save money, how to spend money.
But if you go back to Barra originally stopping this, we already know it's less money.
Right.
It was like 130 or 40 million. Now it's 90 million because our economy is not roaring.
Right.
They're trying to do this twist of our economy, which is a bunch of bunk. There's certain parts of it that they're doing okay, but overall, we're not our GDP was 1.8, and that was they had three other states lower than us in the third quarter. I know the fourth quarter is down for the whole country. I don't look for ours to be up again, and that's not good when you start talking about tax dollars.
Look. The only thing government does really, really well is spend more money than it has.
I agree with that.
Outside of that, everything else is a disaster. And it just is. People say, well, why are you in it? Because, somebody's got to fight the fight. I'm just, for whatever reason, as I describe myself, I said, this is the cross that I want to carry. And fortunately, I can afford to do this. Look, I'm going to show you this because this is what I'm going to show people today in Vermilion Parish. And I know your listeners can't see it, so I'm going to describe this. Last year or over a year ago when we were talking about this cliff, that's a little guy sitting on top of the year, and that's what years? That's 2017 and 18. This is the most money we ever spent in the history of our state, but we were fixing to have a cliff.
Even more than right after Katrina.
Yes. So what happens? Well, we're getting rid of LSU football. We're going to kick people out to nursing homes, all those catastrophic things that this governor talked about, only to turn around in this fiscal year, and we're going to spend more money than we ever had in the history of our state. So, I mean, how can it be catastrophic when we're going to spend more money this year than we did last year? Now, I would propose
by the way,
things.
in last year's budget, John, I know you watched it. It was doom and gloom like I never saw. Well, I can say like I never saw, but like we usually see. And by the way, none of that happened.
Right.
Not one thing.
Well, look at this chart. This is 4 lines. I tell people, when you look at the last 2 fiscal years in Louisiana, overall state government grew by 24%. That's and then we got some negative feedback. So you're misleading the people of Louisiana. So I added this line right here, Moon.
Total state effort.
Total state effort. That's just general fund dollars, sales tax, income tax, fees, self-generated, things like that. This grew at 9%. And most people, when you talk to them, well, 9% doesn't sound like a obscene number.
Talking about billions, that's a lot of money.
But it sounds a lot better than 24%. But what people don't really calculate into it is how we're growing. This is us.
Our income.
We're only growing at 1.2, 1.3%.
And they growing.
But state government's growing between 9 to 24%.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you to give me a shot.
So look, I just throw that up on the board, and people look at it, and class is over. I mean, this is a problem. You first have to recognize that this is a problem. Once you recognize this, then we can argue how we're going to fix it.
But they're not recognizing the problem you're talking about.
Exactly. And look, before I got elected to state treasurer, and now that I have a dedicated staff, not that there wasn't a dedicated staff, but now I have staff that works for me every day.
You got more of a staff than you had then.
So one of the first things I did is say, look, instead of telling people what the problem is, I want a picture that can show it to them. Well, Moon, that's the
By the way,
right
our
there.
GDP is growing about half of what state government is growing to. Right. Anyway, I'm going to make a copy of this one. All right, got to take a break. One more segment. John Schroder, my state treasurer right here in the great state of Louisiana. One more segment to go with him. We'll be right back. Y'all, welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Before we get back to Mr. Schroder, state treasurer, I do want to mention our good friends at Schumacher Homes. Bragging about these guys. The guy that built my house works for them. But they build a home anywhere in the state of Louisiana. They go anywhere. And their main offices are Lafayette, Shreveport, and Baton Rouge. That's where they got the model homes. You can go check them out. You can go online at SchumacherHomes.com, SchumacherHomes.com. But Paul Schumacher started this. He's one of those family businesses that we like to brag about. We had David Stein on earlier. It's a family business. Louisiana has a lot of those. Schumacher Homes is one. They built over 18,000 homes. They've won every award you could possibly win. But the good news is when you build with them, they're going to be up front with you. They're going to give you all the money deals up front. I know people saying, I've never had a home built like that. Well, why don't you go sit down with Schumacher Homes and find out if what I'm telling you is true. SchumacherHomes.com, no obligation, free quote, price quote that allows the customer to know the total price before you build a home. And you can't beat that. And some people say, well, you never built a home. Yes, I have. I understand. But with Schumacher Homes, they're going to do everything up front. That's what you want. SchumacherHomes.com for your next home. Just give them a call and talk to them and find out if what I'm telling you is true. All righty, Mr. Treasurer. Let's go back to this chart that you've handed me. The growth of government should never outpace the growth of your income. Our income is up, like you said, a little over 1%. Government's up, the state effort or total state government's up 9 to 24%. That's why all the tax fights. Because what's happening is there's been no changes, and I'm going to ask you the big question. There's been no changes in what we do in this state. And what I mean by that is we put more taxes to keep doing the same thing that got us in trouble in the first place. If I'm wrong on that, correct me.
No, it's unsustainable.
It's like getting steroids to get more what you had, even though it was bad. We cannot sustain this, but you can't tell the governor and some people that are involved. They don't care about that.
I tell people it's like paying for your house note with your credit card.
You're not going. I can promise you're never going to get ahead doing that.
No, you can do it a couple times, but it eventually stops you. But the only thing that's going to stop this is the legislature, in my opinion, or a new governor.
I'll take both.
Yeah, I tell people this isn't a shot at the governor. And Moon, I said this earlier. You've heard me talk about this for years, and I wasn't on the right side of Bobby Jindal budget, and remember that whole thing. But
it was yesterday.
Yeah, so I get asked, so what would you do if you were governor? I would.
That was my next question.
There's two things that I would do instantly. Well, you need legislation to do it. You can't allow government to grow faster than the taxpayers' ability to pay for government. You just can't. You can't buy a house. The bank's not going to let you buy a house that you can't afford. We have a government that is unaffordable, period. That's not Democrat. That's not Republican. The great thing about being state treasurer is this is a mathematics problem. 1 + 1 is 2. If you spend 2, you're broke. The dollar bill does not have an R or a D printed on it.
No.
You can't spend
it. Not black or white, it's green.
It is. So I would tell you, you can't allow government to grow faster than the people who are paying the bill, period. And I believe, and I'm going to do some research on this as I look to my staff in here. I know there's some states that do this, and we need to model that and find it. The next thing I would do, and you're going to remember this one.
I'm going to remember the first one, because I understand the first one.
A couple years ago, well, we've already tried the second one. A couple years ago, when I was still on the Appropriations Committee, we sent out HB1, which is the budget bill, out of committee. We took the forecast, which had been wrong for year after year after year, all these budget deficits, and we said, okay, if you're gonna forecast $100 million, we're only going to spend $97 million. We're gonna save 2%. Okay, the governor, this governor at that time said, "Great idea, bad timing." Okay,
but it's never going to be good time.
Well, now there won't be a better time. Now we have a surplus. We've raised taxes. We're probably going to have a surplus next year. Now is the time to do it. We need a bill that tells government, whatever your forecast is, you're only going to spend 3%, 2% less of that, and it would force us to have a savings every year. The Constitution tells you where you can spend that money, whether it be infrastructure, paying down debt, whatever, rainy day fund. There's different things you can do that forces you to save some money. That actually allows you to save money as well, because if you pay down your debt, you don't have, you know how that works. So those are two things that I would do instantly.
Yeah, but you got to want to do it.
That's true.
And you know yourself, the way you win re-election as a governor is you take money and go give it to somebody so they'll vote for you. Well, you can disagree with what I said. That's what I believe is going on right now.
Look, you've heard me complain about this capital outlay process for years. It is very politically corrupt.
100%. Yep.
So, legislators have to stand up and be counted on this issue.
But you just touched upon something right before when you first started. If you spend more money than you're taking in, you're screwed.
Right.
Here's what they're doing, though. Oh, we added $7 billion in new taxes. I did the numbers. And when I say $7 billion, from the first tax all the way stretched out for the next 7 years, that's somewhere around $7 billion.
Right.
Well, you may think you're doing a good job because you can keep all the government services running like you want them to run, but eventually you're going to run out of other people's money. And that's why we have a business problem.
You're going to have to raise taxes again. It's inevitable.
Exactly. It's not going to be a fixable deal because you can't keep taking from the people who are producing, John.
That's why I put it in color. So people can,
you got it. People
can
see that today.
People can see
and you got the hurricane and all that stuff. When people see that, they're going to know why we got a surplus. We've been overtaxed.
You can see how high the spending went after Katrina in 07, 08.
And that was one-time money for the most part, right, John?
Yeah, and it hit around $28 billion. That's the year Governor Jindal was elected, and this new that's when term limits kicked in.
Yeah.
And then every year after that, dropped below 25 billion until you get to 2018. Now, Medicaid did explode.
Yeah, but we got more state money too because we taxed a lot.
We did, and I mean the numbers don't lie. Now, we can have a debate on how you're going to fix it and what you're not going to do and what you're all going to do, but the numbers don't lie.
Something you said, John, not sustainable unless we got to have more tax increases, correct?
It's inevitable. I would have never, ever agreed to pass this tax for 7 years.
I wouldn't either. That was one of my most disheartened votes to watch. The first vote on the penny, I didn't like, but the second one, I don't understand about that. Sir, it's always a pleasure. Best of luck in re-election. I'm glad you came by. I'm glad you got to come in the studio.
Yeah, me too. Been a while.
Well, we'll do it again.
We'll be back.
John Schroder, of course, our state treasurer. He is up for re-election, and he is running. All right, we got to take a break. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. Be back in 22 big ones.